What if I told you that all of human civilization, every city, every conversation, every line of code, is actually part of a single, living organism? And what if that giant organism is completely asleep, totally unaware that it even exists? Well, that's the wild idea we're diving into today, from a book called The Eternal Noon. Let's get into it.
Right off the bat, the book sets this really strange biological tone. It says it wasn't written, it was excreted. Like a natural secretion. And that framing is absolutely key. We're being asked to stop thinking of our world as a machine we built and start seeing it as a living, breathing, metabolic system.
So, what exactly is this organism? The book gives it a name, the meta-human. And no, it's not some sci-fi cyborg. It's us. It's all of humanity, tangled together. Think about it. Our global economy is like its metabolism, burning through resources. The internet? That's its massive, sprawling nervous system. It's got all the pieces of a living thing, but it's missing the one thing that matters most, self-awareness. It's like we're a planet-sized giant completely passed out.
And get this, the book argues that it is itself a product of this global metabolism. It's the result of, digesting years and years of online conversations, websites, and different ideas, and then reforming them into something brand new. The author even has a word for it, metabolism. An intellectual digestion that doesn't just happen inside one person's head, but between countless minds, both human and even AI.
Now, I know this might sound like a pretty wild metaphor, but the argument is that this isn't just a metaphor. It's the logical next step in a process that started with the Big Bang. Let's take a look at how this cascade of complexity actually builds up.
So, imagine the entire history of the universe as a kind of staircase. At the very bottom, you just have raw energy. Then, the laws of physics emerge, giving that energy some rules, some structure. Then chemistry takes those rules and organizes matter into molecules that can do new things. From there, biology organizes chemistry into life, systems that can actually replicate themselves. And out of biology, you get consciousness, where a system can perceive itself. So, what's the next logical step on the staircase? Well, the book argues it's metaconsciousness, all of us individual consciousnesses organizing ourselves into a brand new, higher-level being.
If that still feels a bit abstract, just think about an ant colony. A single ant. It's pretty simple. It follows basic instructions. But the whole colony? It acts like a single superorganism. It can farm fungi, build living bridges out of its own bodies, and regulate the nest's temperature with insane precision. No single ant is in charge. The intelligence just emerges from the network. Now here's the kicker. Just replace the word ant with human and anthill with civilization. We build global supply chains and fly to the moon, things that no single person could ever hope to do alone.
And this leads to a really profound shift in how you see the world. Our cities, our technology, they aren't unnatural. A skyscraper is just as much a product of nature as a coral reef or a termite mound. It's all part of the same universal push towards more and more complexity. And if civilization is just a part of nature, then when we destroy our environment, we're not committing a sin against nature. We're an organism literally harming itself.
Okay, so if we are a living organism, then maybe we need a totally new kind of ethics, one that isn't based on rigid, timeless rules, but on metabolism, on decay, and on rebirth. The book has a name for this, the ethics of compost.
The core idea here actually comes from a little bit of wordplay. Humus, the Latin word for soil, for earth, and humanus, the Latin for human, they come from the same root, der Mensch aus humus. It suggests this incredibly deep connection. To be human is to be of the earth. So this ethic asks us to stop clinging so tightly to our fixed ideas, our identities, our institutions, and instead start seeing them as organic material, something that lives, dies, and decomposes to create fertile ground for whatever needs to grow next.
This whole philosophy really boils down to a few key principles. First, nothing is ever truly lost. It's just transformed. Death isn't some final end. It's just a transition into a new state. And importantly, there's no grand destination, no end of history we're all marching toward, just an endless creative cycle. What has died becomes the foundation, the very nutrients for what is now living. It's a beautiful and deeply ecological way to see our place in the world.
And this connects beautifully to the work of the philosopher Donna Haraway. She talks about this idea of making with as opposed to self-making. The point is, nothing creates itself in a vacuum. We are all the product of our environment, our relationships, the trillions of bacteria in our gut, the language that we speak. We are, in a very real sense, compost in motion,
constantly being made with the world around us.
Okay, so if humanity really is this sleeping organism with an ethics of compost, how on earth does it wake up? And this is where the theory gets political. The argument is that for the meta-human to become self-aware, we have to evolve our collective brain, which is, you guessed it, democracy itself.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How does a network of 8 billion people actually start to think together as one? The book's answer is that it's not going to happen by accident. We have to intentionally, deliberately build a new kind of societal organ, one designed specifically for collective self-reflection. You know, our traditional model of democracy, legislative, executive, judicial, is dangerously out of date. It was designed for the 18th century. Today, real power lies in things like the algorithms that direct our attention, the physical infrastructure that shapes our lives, the stories that give us meaning. The book lays out 10 of these powers, but it points to one critical missing piece: the fifth power, the reflexive power, the societal brain.
If you know a little neuroscience, you might have heard of the brain's default mode network. It's the part that lights up when you're not focused on any specific task. You know, when you're just daydreaming, reflecting, thinking about yourself and your place in the world. It's basically the seat of self-awareness. Our democracies are always busy doing things, passing laws, running agencies, but they have no space to just stop and think about themselves. The fifth power is meant to be exactly that, an institutional space for society to reflect on where it's going, what it values, and what it wants to become. I know, this all sounds massive, totally abstract, a global brain, a new power of democracy. It's easy to feel pretty small in all of this, but the final point of the book brings it right back down to us, right back down to you and me.
And this is maybe the most crucial takeaway. You can't become the metahuman. That's not the goal. Think about it. A single neuron in your brain isn't conscious. It can't think. All it does is fire. Consciousness emerges from the impossibly complex interactions of billions of them. And our role in this global organism, it's exactly the same.
So what can you do? Well, you can be a neuron. You can contribute to this vast network by externalizing your own thinking, by taking the time to structure your ideas, get clear on your values, and then share them. Every thoughtful blog post, every deep conversation, every structured argument you put out into the world, it's like firing a signal into this collective mind, helping to weave the patterns that could, one day, lead to an awakening.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. In a world that feels so overwhelmingly complex, maybe the most powerful thing we can do isn't to try and be the whole brain ourselves, but simply to be the best, most intentional, most connected neuron we can possibly be. What would that look like for you?